And now, this one I'm actually going to look at, do a bit of scoping there. Okay, yeah, that's good. Make a good time, actually. So here's the next essay that we're going to read from the Anarchist Library, just because I love reading things from Errico Malatesta. I swear I'll get to reading other anarchist authors, not just Errico Malatesta or David Graeber. I'll start reading, find essays from like other anarchist authors, as it were. But I did decided to find Errico Malatesta's essay. I was thinking there was a essay by him on violence, as it were, and was interested in reading that. But then this one, from the title, Pro-Government Anarchists, that I thought was quite interesting. No, so Declan wasn't. If you're still in the chat now, you can say hi and let me know you're still watching. And I still got 4 viewers. Thank you for sticking around. But it's fine if my viewers are still lurking, as it were. It's totally fine, understandable. And don't worry, because again, like I said, I will then re-upload these to my YouTube channel, and I'll and that should be interesting to put up there, so that if you missed this, or you come in joining in right now, or halfway through, or can't find it, don't worry. All these I will cut up this VOD into different sections as I read each article, and so they'll be put there. And so we're going to continue reading this time be Errico Malatesta's essay here. I honestly read the title, that Pro-Government Anarchists, because Duncan is a orthodox Marxist, and so they really believe, I don't know your pronouns, in centralized planned economy, as it were. Not too opposed to it, other than the decentralized part. I just don't see how. I like the idea of planned economies. Actually, does intrigue me as a bridge from the current system we have now into fully electric automated gay-based anarcho-communism, or fully electric anarcho-communism. Yes, I will hydrate. Thank you. And hello, Stephanie. How are you? But I'm curious what Errico Malatesta has to say about pro-government anarchists. Because that's the thing about, yes, anarchists are for a stateless society, which is socialism and communism. Stateless and classless. Communism would have the added part of moneyless. So anarchists don't believe, in government. But just because we don't believe in government doesn't mean we're against governance. In fact, you can have governance without government. So I'm curious about why there is such a thing as pro-government anarchists. I'm going to do a quick little thing and change and edit the stream title. Then again, it probably would have been fine for those who were just perusing through the political category on Twitch, as if they see the old title that I had on before, which was why class first leftists are wrong. That probably actually would have been a fine title to keep there. But I think pro-government anarchist is also an interesting title to look at. So anyway, now reading Errico Malatesta's pro-government anarchist. A manifesto has just appeared, signed by Kropotkin, Grave, Baudot, and a dozen other comrades, in which echoing the supporters of the Intrad governance, who are demanding a fight to the finish of the crushing of Germany. They take the stand against any idea of premature peace. Okay, so this was the date for this was from April 1916. So that's the Germany they're referring to, from the Kaiser for World War I. So keep in mind this was from April 2016. The Capitalist Press published, back to the essay, Capitalist Press published with natural satisfaction excerpts from the manifesto and announced it as a work of leaders of the international anarchist movement. Anarchists, almost all of whom have remained faithful to their convictions, owe it to themselves to protect protests against this attempt to implicate anarchism in the continuance of the ferocious slaughter that has never held promise of any benefits to the cause of justice and liberty, and which now shows itself to be absolutely barren and resultless, even from the standpoint of the rulers on either side. The good faith and good intention of those who have signed the manifesto and are beyond all question, but however painful it may be to disagree with old friends who have rendered so many services to that which in the past was our common cause, one cannot, having regard to sincerity and in the interest of our movement for emancipation, fail to disassociate oneself from comrades who consider themselves able to reconcile anarchist ideas of cooperations with the governments of capitalist classes of certain countries in their stifle against the capitalists and governments of certain other countries. During the present war, we have seen Republicans, a side note here, this is referring to like people who are just like pro-republics, as it were, a form of like government. Not saying Republicans as in the current GOP party that we have in America right now, which is like a pseudo-fascist party. I think the Republicans right now are a pseudo-fascist party. Mitch McConnell accepts Joe Biden as president-elect, and probably maybe some in the GOP would like to be rid of the Cheeto-in-chief and Donald Trump, yes, but that still doesn't mean I don't see themselves any less than a pseudo-fascist party. But I'll reread this part and continue with the essay. During the present war, which was referring to World War I, of course, during the present war, we have seen Republicans placing themselves at the service of kings, socialists making common the cause with the ruling class, laborers serving the interests of capitalists, but in reality, all of these people are, in various degrees, conservatives, believing in the mission of the state, and their hesitation can be understood only when the only remedy lay in the destruction of every governmental chain and the unloosening of the social revolution. But such hesitation is incomprehensible in the cause of anarchists. So yeah, it's kind of like insane. It's why are anarchists there for this? I think. Anyway, I'll continue. We hold that the state is incapable of good in the field of international as well as in individual relations. It can only combat aggression by making itself the aggressor. It can only hinder crimes by organizing and committing still greater crime. Okay, so I'll add my little commentary here. It's a whole point where it's just in order for the state to be able to maintain a sort of peace, as we're either internationally or domestically, they have to enforce, they have to imply force or own the monopoly of violence, as it were. This is the main critique that anarchists have for the state, when they have the monopoly on violence. If there's the only way they can combat aggression is by being the aggressor themselves, sending the police forces to pacify or to calm down the unrest of the protests, the Beyond protests, for example. Those were all protests, but the police turned into riots. Or internationally, as it were, if there's a scuffle in this one place, if the powers that be care about what's happening in that country, as it were, then they'll send international aid, as it were, in quotes, in order to impose and sometimes even directly back on the dictatorships. The only way to get peace into the world, as it were, is they impose a greater harm, as it were, in greater kind. So that's the monopoly of state power that the state has with either police force or the military. But I'll continue with the essay. Even on the supposition, which is far from being the truth, that Germany alone was responsible for the present war, it is proved that as long as governance methods are adhered to, Germany can only be resisted by suppressing all liberty and reviving the power of all forces of reactions. Except the popular revolution, there is no other way of resisting the menace of a disciplined army but to try to have a stronger, more disciplined army, so that the sternest anti-militants, if they are not anarchists, and if they are afraid of the destruction of the state, are inevitably led to become ardent militants. I'm rereading this again to myself. Yeah, because like the only way the state sees to and like I just said, maintain peace is just like bring a bigger stick, as it were. So I'll continue with the article, the essay. In fact, in the problematic hope of crushing Persian militarism, they have renounced all the spirit and all the traditions of liberty. They have Prussianized English and France. They have submitted themselves to the Tsarism. They have restored the prestige of the tottering thrones of Italy. Can anarchists accept the state of things for a single moment without renouncing all rights to call themselves anarchists? To me, even foreign dominations as surrendered by force and leading to revolt is preferable to domestic oppression meekly. Almost gradually accepted, in the beliefs that by this we have preserved from greater evil. Ah, yes, the lesser of two evils, as it were. Even pro-government anarchists are just doing it right now to prevent greater evil, as it were. Mint-mintly. I like it. Even though I'm not that usually a fan of them like mint. That's the tea I have, mint-mintly. Anyway, continue with the essay. It is useless to say that this is a question of an exponential time, and that after having contribute to the victory of the intents in this war, we shall return, each into his own camp, to the struggle for his own ideal. If it is necessary today to work in harmony with the government and the capitalists to defend ourselves against the German menace, it will be necessary afterwards as well as during the war. However great may be the defeat of the German army, it is true that it will be defeated. It will never be possible to prevent the German patriots thinking of and preparing for revenge, and the patriots of the other countries, very reasonably for their own viewpoint, will want to hold themselves in readiness so that they may not again be taken unaware. This means that Prussian militarism will become a permanent and regular institution in all countries. So yeah, it's kind of like, even if we do agree, for instance, the German methods got likely stop right now. So it will constantly have to fight, either fight this war or prepare for the next war or prepare for more aggressions. I think is what Errico Malatesta is getting to. So I'll continue with the essay. What will then be said by the self-styled anarchists who today desire the victory of one of the warring allies? What will then be said by the self-styled anarchists who today desire the victory of one of the warring alliances? Will they go on calling themselves anti-militarists and preaching disarmament, refusal to do military services, and sabotage against national defense, only to become, at the first threat of war, recurring sergeants for those governments that they have attempted to disarm and paralyze? Yeah, so how can you really say if you're an anarchist if you're pro-government, I think, is like what the Errico Malatesta is getting to. Continue with the essay. It will be said that these things will come to an end when the German people had rid themselves of their tyrants and ceased to be a menace to Europe by destroying militarism in their own country. But if that is the case, the Germans who think, and rightfully so, that the English and French domination, to say nothing of Tsarist Russia, would be so more delightful to the Germans than German domination to the French and English, will desire first to wait for the Russians and the others to destroy their own militarism, and will meanwhile continue to increase their own country's armies. And then, how long will the revolution be delayed? How long anarchy? Must we always wait for others to begin? Yeah, this is an excellent point. It's kind of like you're arguing that we should like fight against the menace right now, like in Germany, because it's like written during World War One. But yet, what's to say that like English and France are going to like disarm right afterwards? And if you're talking about yourself and claim yourself to be like against military now or against military and all these other things, then how can you say that you're for the military now just because like there's a greater evil elsewhere? I'll finish the rest of the essay. The line of conduct for anarchists is clearly marked and out by the very logic of this inspirations. The war ought to have been prevented by bringing about the revolution, or at least by making the government afraid of the revolution. Either the strength or the skill necessary for this has been lacking. Peace ought to be imposed by bringing about the revolution, or at least by threatening to do so. To the present time, the strength or the skill is wanting. Well, there's only one remedy: to do better in future. More than ever, we must avoid compromise, deepening the chasm between capitalists and wage slaves, between rulers and ruled. Okay, this is the word I'm not too exproportional. I'm going to confirm that's how I pronounce it by copying and pasting it. Go. So Webster Dictionary, what do you have for me?
Expropriation.
Expropriation. I've seen that word all the time, or hear the word all the time, but I didn't see it like here. I know how to like pronounce it right then and there. Okay, back to the essay. Preach expropriation of private property and the destruction of states as the only means of guaranteeing fraternity between people and justice and liberty for all, and we must prepare to accomplish these things. Meanwhile, it seems to me that it is criminal to do anything that tends to prolong the war, that slaughters men, destroys wealth, and hinders all resumptions of the struggle for emancipation. It appears to me that preaching war to the end is really playing the game of the German rulers, who are deceiving their subjects and inflaming their ardors for fighting by persuading them that their opponents desire to crush and enslave the German people. Today, as ever, let's begin our slogan: down with capitalists and governments, all capitalists, all governments. Long live the people, all the peoples. So yeah, I think it's like Errico Malatesta at the time, just like calling out the pro-government anarchists. It's like, really? Are you being anarchist right now? You're siding with the governments right now because the Germans' menace is a greater threat? And what's to say that like they're not going to like stand down, or like the France and England are going to promise to demilitarize once they're done? So yeah, that's kind of how I read it. And